Welcome to Rotherham SENDIASS virtual workshop on things to consider before lodging a SEND Tribunal appeal. This workshop will have an additional focus on Section I appeals, which is the school named in the EHC plan. Your right to appeal the SEND Tribunal. If your child has an EHC plan, or you have requested an EHC needs assessment or reassessment, you'll be aware that there are times that you are provided with your right of appeal. You'll be provided with this right at the following times: if the local authority have refused to carry out an EHC needs assessment, if the local authority have secured an EHC assessment but have refused to make an EHC plan, the local authority has issued an EHC plan following an EHC needs assessment, the local authority has refused to secure a reassessment of EHC needs, the local authority has carried out an annual review, the local authority has refused to amend the EHC plan after an EHC needs reassessment, or the local authority has decided that the EHC plan is no longer necessary and are going to cease to maintain the plan. You can also appeal the following parts: if a plan has been issued, following the amendment of a plan, or the ceasing of a plan. If you disagree with what the EHC plan says about your child or young person's special educational needs, so Section B. If you disagree with what the EHC plan says about the educational help or provision, Section F. If you disagree with the school or college named in the EHC plan, Section I, or if the local authority hasn't named a school or college in the EHC plan. As part of your appeal, you can also ask the Tribunal to make recommendations for health or social care needs if you disagree with what the EHC plan says about health, or if you disagree with what the EHC plan says about social care. So who has the right to appeal? The right of appeal is provided to the parent of a child if that child is 0 to 16, or it's provided to the young person themselves if they're aged between 16 and 25. Support can be offered by the parent or other organisations. Please be aware that schools, colleges and settings don't have the right of appeal to the SEND Tribunal. Time limits to lodge an appeal. Following the local authority's decision about the EHC process, you'll be provided with a letter which should be dated and will outline the outcome of the local authority's decision. This letter will let you know that you can consider mediation and/or lodge your appeal. If you wish to register an appeal with the first-tier SEND Tribunal, you first must consider whether to enter mediation and obtain a certificate saying that you've considered it. This is called mediation advice. If you decide not to go into mediation and tell the mediation advisor, they will send you a certificate within 3 working days, and you can then register your appeal. You don't have to go into mediation if you don't want to, but you must consider whether to or not. You must contact the mediation advisor within 2 months of getting the local authority's decision letter. Your time limit for appealing to the SEND Tribunal is then 2 months from the date of the local authority's decision, or 1 month from the date of the mediation certificate, whichever is the later. You can register an appeal without considering mediation first if the appeal is only about the name of the school or college named in the plan, the type of school or college specified, or the fact that there's no school or other institution named, so that's Section I of the plan. To lodge your appeal to the SEND Tribunal, you must complete the following form, and you'll find where to find these forms in the little link at the top there. The form SEND 35 is the form that you would use for most of the appeals. However, if you're appealing a refusal to secure a needs assessment, it's form SEND 35A. Gathering the right information before completing your appeal form. To lodge your appeal, you'll need the following information as a minimum: a signed and dated letter from the local authority giving you the right of appeal, a copy of the signed mediation certificate, or if you're able to confirm that your appeal is about the school or college or the type of school or college only, whereby a mediation certificate isn't then necessary. Your reasons for making the appeal, and that will be Section 2 of the appeal form, and a copy of the child's EHC plan and all the documents listed as Part K of the plan if an EHC plan's been issued. The appeal form must be signed and dated. This information will need to be sent to the SEND Tribunal with your appeal form, so please make sure you have this before sending off your form. Please remember, the appeal process is a legal process. It's overseen by a judge and at least one layperson who has an experience and expertise in the issues that you're appealing for. Their decision will be communicated to you both the local authority and yourself in writing after the hearing, so you won't get to find out on the day. The appeal process has a 12-week timescale, and so please factor this in when lodging your appeal, particularly around school transitions, for example. Please also be aware that there have been times due to the capacity challenges within the tribunal sector that have meant that they have had to go over their 12-week process. For example, there have been occasions when the process has been extended to as long as 50 weeks. The tribunal will make a decision based on the evidence presented before the hearing date and the oral evidence that is presented at the hearing itself. As such, you will need to consider what evidence will be available to you that supports your appeal. If you don't feel you have evidence to support your appeal, you may wish to reconsider your options. SENDIASS will be able to help you to outline what your options are and help discuss them with you. Some top tips for completing the appeal form. Before you start to complete the form, save a blank copy first and then complete your saved version. If you complete the form online and then save it after, it will only save a blank version and your work will be lost. You'd need to send your appeal to the following address, send@justice.gov.uk, and in the subject box of the email, please specify the following: new appeal, and then put your child's full name. If you want to send a hard copy of the appeal instead of emailing it, the details of where to send it are on the appeal form. If you need to send your appeal in multiple emails due to the size of some of the attachments, then also add the number of emails you're sending, such as email 1 of 3, email 2 of 3, email 3 of 3, and so on. This is useful as the appeal process receive hundreds of emails from across the country, and so they need a way to identify each child as they come through. If you'd like to see some videos that offer tips on completing the appeal form, please contact us and we can provide the links for you. The rest of this video will now focus on appeals about Section I of the EHC plan only, which is the school, setting or college named in the plan, or where Section I is part of the appeal along with other aspects of the plan. Some useful background information when considering a Section I appeal. So what is Section I of the EHC plan? The SEND Code of Practice says Section I of the EHC plan contains the name and type of school, maintained nursery school, post-16 institution or other institution to be attended by the child or young person, and the type of that institution. Or where the name of the school or other institution is not specified in the plan, the type of school or other institution to be attended by the child or young person. From this point onwards, I'll refer to these types of schools named above as schools or settings. As part of the EHC process, you may have told the local authority which school or setting you wish to be named in Section I of the final EHC plan. You may be aware that you could request one of the following types of schools or settings: a maintained nursery, a maintained school, an academy, an institution within the further education sector, a non-maintained special school, or an institution approved by the Secretary of State under Section 41. This list is taken from Section 38(3) of the Children and Families Act. You may be aware that the local authority will have sent a copy of the draft EHC plan to the school or setting you requested, or to other schools and settings the local authority felt to be appropriate too. Those schools and settings will have been given 15 calendar days to respond to the local authority's request to consider the EHC plan. This is called the consultation period. The schools will have had to consider the contents of the EHC plan and respond to say if they're able to meet the needs of the child as outlined in the EHC plan and offer a place or not. The local authority have a conditional duty to name your preferred school from the list mentioned on the previous slide unless one of the following reasons is given. The school or the other institution requested is unsuitable for the age, ability, aptitude or special educational needs of your child, or the attendance of the child at the requested school would be incompatible with the provision of efficient education for others, or the efficient use of resources. These reasons are taken from Section 39(4) of the Children and Families Act. But what if your preferred school is not one from the list mentioned above? The SEND Code of Practice says a child's parent or the young person may also make representations for places in non-maintained early years provision or at independent schools or independent specialist colleges or other post-16 providers that are not on the list mentioned, and the local authority must consider their request. The local authority, however, is not under the same conditional duty to name the provider, but must have regard to the general principle that children should be educated in accordance with their parents' wishes, so long as this is compatible with the provision of efficient instruction and training and does not mean unreasonable public expenditure. So how does this useful background information help with your appeal? This is all about the burden of proof. Dependent on the issue you're appealing, there is an obligation on either yourself or on the local authority to prove your point. This is called the burden of proof. The burden of proof at the SEND Tribunal is on the balance of probabilities. For appeals for a type of school named on the list, taken from 38.3 of the Children and Families Act, the burden of proof is on the local authority. The local authority would need to prove to the tribunal which of the exemptions they are relying on from 39.4 of the Children and Families Act for not naming your preferred school. For appeals for non-maintained early years provision or at an independent school or independent specialist college that are not on that list, the burden of proof would be on you to show that your choice of placement is compatible with the provision of efficient instruction and training and would avoid unreasonable public expenditure. Some top tips. First of all, we'd suggest that you find out what type of school your preferred school is before you lodge your appeal. You can do this by checking one of the following two places. So first of all, you could go on the EduBase website and the link is there. You would click on the bit that says name or reference number, type in the name of your school and click search. It will then tell you what type of school your school is. If you think your school is an independent school and you need to check if it's on the Section 41 list, you will find a copy of that list here. So click on this link, scroll down and see if you can find your school on there. Some top tips. Before lodging your appeal, ask to see a copy of the consultation responses for the schools that have been sent a copy of the EHC plan. Seeing the responses may help you consider if your appeal for a specific school would be appropriate. You may find that the response is vague or doesn't outline one of the reasons mentioned in Section 39.4 of the Children and Families Act. You might find that it leaves you with lots of questions about their reason for saying no. Or, on the other hand, you may find that it's really clear. For example, it may be very detailed in the type of SEN that the school support, which is different to the needs of your child, or that the class or year group that your child would be attending is currently significantly over their designated number of students, and as such any further additions would impact on the education of other children who already attend and potentially make a class size larger than would be in a mainstream school. Remember, you can always ask to discuss the consultation responses with the local authority representative. So going back to the appeal form, you'll see on page 3 of the SEND appeal form that there's a section which asks for the name of the school you wish to appeal for. If you're able to name the school you would like, then please enter the details in this section. Please be aware that if your preferred school is not a school on the Section 38.3 list, then the school would also need to agree that they can meet all the needs as specified in the EHC plan and that they can offer a placement, and will be able to do so at the end of the appeal process. At a later part of the appeals process, they will be asked to complete a form to show their agreement with the placement. If the school don't agree to complete this form, this will be problematic to your appeal going forward for that specific school. So letting the school know that you're appealing for a place. It'd be helpful to just send an email to the school, and there's an example of how you might word that here. If you send this to the head teacher of the school, it will just give them the indication that you're appealing for it. Things to be aware of. Requesting a special school but not naming which school you'd like. You'll see on the appeal form that there is a section for you to complete if you don't feel able to name a specific school yet. You may feel this would be helpful to then describe the type of school you feel would be more appropriate, for example, a specialist primary school for children with autism. However, please be aware the local authority may fully agree with your preferred type of school and so respond to the tribunal that the appeal is unopposed. This means the appeal will be brought to a close and be seen as if a decision was made in your favour. The local authority will then have 2 weeks to reissue a new final EHC plan. However, that plan may still not name a specific special school for your child to attend, but simply name a type of school for which is, for example, a specialist primary school for children with autism. Additional evidence. Once you've sent your appeal form along with the documents the tribunal need to accept your appeal, you'll be provided with a deadline to submit additional evidence. All the evidence provided to the tribunal form will form the tribunal bundle. You may find it helpful to watch our video on tribunal bundles at this point. As stated in our bundle video, there is a limit on the amount of pages for additional evidence for Section I appeals. This page limit is 75 pages. Some useful additional evidence to gather, and remember the 75 page limit. When appealing for a specific school to be named in an EHC plan, or appealing against a specific school that's been named, you may wish to include the following information in your additional evidence. For schools not on the Section 38(3) of the Children and Families Act, confirmation that they can meet needs and offer a place. This information will be vital, and you'll need to ask your preferred school for this document. A recent Ofsted report of your preferred school. You'll find this on the school website or the Ofsted website. School information from Edubase, which outlines the number of children the school is registered for, but consider this information will be helpful before sending this as evidence. The consultation response of your preferred school and of that named in the plan currently. You may find this on the EHC hub, or you might need to ask the local authority for copies of these documents. Details of the class, year group, makeup, etc. For example, the number of children on roll, the needs of the children, the number of staff within the class, learning levels of the class generally. This information would need to be anonymised so not to break GDPR of other children. You may need to request this information from the school once you lodge your appeal, and it may be necessary to do this as a Freedom of Information request. Policies of the school that may show that they're able to meet needs or show that they may not, and you'll find the school policies on their website. Cost implications of the school, therapists or other support needed if specified in the plan, transport costs and other packages including social care or health packages if they're specified in the plan. You may need to contact therapists directly for this information or ask different services within the local authority. Again, you may need a Freedom of Information request. Top tips for gathering additional evidence. If a Freedom of Information request is needed, please be aware of the time limits used to provide the response, which is 20 working days. And factor this into your deadlines. Don't leave it till the last minute. Look at the school's websites and read their policies. Some helpful documents to consider may be the SEND reports, SEND policies, inclusion policies, behaviour policies, and intimate care policies if that's the needs of your child. Don't just send everything. Remember there is a page limit to what you can send for Section I appeals, so ask yourself if the document is helpful to your appeal. We hope you found this information useful and wish you well with your appeal.